just curious if anyone, yeah, if anyone had any loose ends or, questions or follow-ups from the session, we'd be happy to tie them up quickly, before we transition to Scott. Okay.
I mean, I'll say one thing, which is just on the leadership contract thing and what, I think that, all of us probably have a couple tendencies that you always have to fight in these situations. One is well, if I can't have my way, I'm not going to do it, or I'm not, it's the need to dominate, just the way, as Sarah, was saying. And if you're here, many of us have these jobs where the expectation is that you're going to accomplish something by controlling everything about it from the beginning to the end. And that's, of course, not what this is, but yet that's what our day jobs pretty much require us to do. So there's always this tension there, of, okay, how do you just sit back and trust that, things are gonna, that you're riding down this stream on this inflatable boat, and, something's, that it's not gonna tip, it's not gonna dump. And, even though you're not in control of that, you just have to trust that that's where it's going to go, and simultaneously observe what everybody else is going through. Because that's what I found interesting about the last meeting, was that, it's interesting to watch, and learn about the other people and where they are in the continuum of that exact thing, which is, are they dominators who, talk all the time like me, or, or are they people who, are just sort of like growing out of, and coming into their own in a group environment. I tend to do, I don't really do that. I sort of tend to, like, either, want to dominate it all or just close up, in the group environment. So that's, I think, a big tendency that, everybody has a little of that in them, um, so just you go, it fits with what Sarah is saying, which is learning to just listen and trust the situation. And, everybody's at a different level of coming out or withdrawing or dominating or being a group worker or whatever it may be. And it takes us a while to observe each other to see how that, who's at what level, and, what's the things that, the objective being, don't make anybody uncomfortable, by the way you're acting. So you got to know something about them all first.
Thanks, Brooke. I think you're right. I think there's also a need for some discomfort. That is part of building trust. That is part of learning and stretching ourselves a little. So I may use that as our transition for Scott and some of his lessons on trust and experiences that he's had. So Scott, we'll turn it over to you.
All right.
Screen sharing if you need it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so this is going to be life-changing for you over the next 12 months. So again, this is all about, it's a journey, right? So you guys are going to be on a journey of leadership together, and you're going to build long-lasting relationships out of this. And that ILC is going to be important. So I'll speak quickly to that, since you guys were talking about that, right? So you're going to be reflecting on that a lot. And as Allyson said, you're going to be revamping it, revising it often, but you're also going to have those in-depth conversations with others in your group. And you're going to have difficult conversations, right? But it's going to make you a bit better, stronger individual and leader at the end of the day. So to each of you, provide that candid feedback to each other, and be true and be honest with each other, because that's the only way you're going to get better. And it's what you're going to put into the program that you're going to get out of it. So I'll start here a little bit off again about my background. I come from the fire service since 2004, and I have served at all levels of government in one form or another that we'll talk about as a chief fire officer. I also have been serving in the Pennsylvania Air National Guard since 2001. So today I'm still in the Air Guard as a senior enlisted leader at the 193rd Special Operations in Middletown, Pennsylvania, and also at Fort Uniontown Gap. Some of my current leadership positions in organizations that are really making positive changes in Harrisburg and DC include vice president of the International Association of Fire Chiefs. So we oversee Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, and DC. Currently the vice president of the Pennsylvania Fire Chiefs Association, and was appointed by Governor Shapiro to serve on the Pennsylvania State Fire Advisory Board, and just finished up my 4-year term as president of Lancaster County Fire Chiefs Association here in Lancaster County. Also, am a Leadership Lancaster Executive Class 2019 grad, and as Allyson, a alumni of Roll, and I was in the Roll 19 class, May of 2024 graduate from the Penn State Extension. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit here about organizational trust and what it takes. And it takes a lot of hard work and determination as leaders. And we're going to touch on also the book, The Speed of Trust, and some of those key points that we speak about. But I think overarching, my review of the book during our time in Roll and what we got out of it was pretty simple, right? Building meaningful relationships will always work out better when there's trust in everything that we do and develop with our team. But the work will not be easy. It's never easy. It's going to take effort. And at all times, it's going to put you in a position that might not be comfortable, right? You might go into a zone that's going to be uncomfortable. And from personal experience, I lived in that space most of my career as a chief fire officer. So I'm going to go back to 2015, and I was brought in from the outside, right? We always talk about organizations that bring in those outsiders, and that's usually a difficult position to be in as a leader. So I was fortunate to be brought in by the Department of Army at Fort Detrick in Frederick, Maryland, to come in from the outside and provide a new lens and a new perspective on what their fire and emergency services agencies were actually conducting there on Fort Detrick. Again, a huge task when you really peel back the onion. And I was looking at an institution there that had knowledge that was built by local affiliations, where it was longstanding tradition of hiring family and friends in that organization. So getting buy-in to programs was a challenge, but over time, as you build trust through everyday conversation and interaction that is personable, folks will start to see the truth and understand that it's not personal, but you're trying to build a culture of that organization to be successful. And that's where you get their input, their buy-in, allowing them to be innovators and thinkers in some of the programs, letting them be empowered to take ownership. So everyone on that team had a place, but finding each person's skill and niche of where they went on that team was important. So capturing each individual's talent allowed us to ensure everybody played a part in the success that was about to come. So then that was in 2015. We're building up to 2018. So I had about 3 years with the staff there to really transform. And then I departed. But a month after I left there, they were recognized as the first Army facility under the Installation Management Command to be internationally fire rescue credentialed, with the primary focus in that credentialing was on training and service delivery. So again, it's a huge honor for that team to be able to have all that work that they put in to be internationally recognized, as today they're one of only 250 fire rescue agencies to have the international credentialing behind their department name. And to put that into perspective worldwide, there's 30,000 fire departments in the United States alone. So as I said about my departure, is in 2018, I again found myself as an outsider being brought into the city of Lancaster by Mayor Sertoma to reestablish the Bureau of Fire. And under her guiding principles, which were based on strong neighborhoods, safe streets, secure incomes, and sound government. So that was my baseline to work from coming into the city of Lancaster. And why that was also in building trust with the organization as we talk here, I was the first outsider to come into Lancaster Fire Bureau since 1882 when they formed the fire department. So if you think about that perspective, that nobody from the outside has ever sat in the fire chief's seat at City Hall since 1882 from an outsider. So immediately, what do you think I was faced with? I was faced with those comments of, no way you can make change here. It's just not going to happen, right? Good luck with that. And that's a tough bunch. So again, some of the things you got to remember when you hear that as you're announced as the incoming fire chief in a third-class city in particular, I knew one thing: I had to be myself. I had to keep my family and inner circle nearby, but I always had to know I had to remain focused on those end goals. And those end goals is people, right? People that are on the team delivering the service, but also those people that we are serving every day and why we wear the uniform. So as like Stephen Covey says in the Speed of Trust, the trust we have in people and in organizations comes in part from believing that they do care. So I had to keep that foundation going, that all the staff care about what they're doing, and when they raise their right hand to serve and protect. So again, it goes back to, you have to have good-hearted conversation with people and really truly care about them and their family and the conversation you're having. So simply put, how are you doing, right? Because we know at times there's somebody that will say that to you in passing, and they have absolutely no care of how you really are doing. So being able to take the time and to have those conversations matter, and they mean something to people, and taking the time and being intentional really, as we speak here, paved the way for success for the city of Lancaster's Fire Bureau members and where they're at today. But it also takes a labor management relationship. You have to have good conversation, allowing staff to have a voice and allowing them to have a seat at the table for conversation. So allowing the team to share their thoughts were some of the things that were facing them, their challenges, what they believe the Bureau was facing, all matters. And it matters to them to be able to speak and speak freely to the fire chief, so I can get them the things they need to best do their job. So some of the things we had to come across in the city of Lancaster was staffing issues, the aging facilities, the aging fire trucks, gear and equipment, so they can safely do the job. So part of that was getting the right tools to save lives and property. So building that relationship from the ground floor up with staff allowed us to jointly go to city council, go to the mayor, show the things that we needed as a unified front, allowed us to get full support of council and the mayor to be able to build 2 brand new fire stations. That most of you travel King Street, you get to see the product. We were able to expand their workspace by over 3 times what they were working in. We were able to replace their aging apparatus, where now you see a lot of newer fire trucks on the streets of Lancaster. And we were also to get them the latest technology and equipment, because we know the delivery of fire rescue service is not cheap. And there's not a revenue mechanism for that. So as we always talk about, it's how council wants to support and have a life insurance policy for their residents is what it comes down to. You know, the other thing we face together in the journey of leading a fire rescue organization is the impact on the firefighters and the things they see every day, because the things they see are not normal to the common population. But they're also fighting a different battle now. They are now fighting a battle of cancer, where we are now seeing 20% higher rates of cancer on firefighters. Just the other year, 70% of the line of duty deaths in firefighters was caused by dying from cancer and not actually at a fire. So we're seeing that transition. So we have to address those needs. And all that stress and that mental well-being adds up. So you have to be able to establish, grow, and expand and restore trust at every turn, no matter what, with your staff. And for me, it's about being humble and know that doing the right things matters, even on the toughest day, because you know somebody is going to have a positive outcome of the things that we're doing. So now we come to December of 2021, and yet again, I am asked to go lead another organization. And this time I was asked to come to Manheim Township and serve as the fire rescue chief for, again, the combination system that is here in Manheim Township. So like I said, here we go again. My family think I'm crazy to keep going from organization to organization. But for me, it's those growth opportunities. And coming to Manheim Township provides that. As I said, Manheim Township right now, the township as a whole is the 20th largest municipality in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. We have one of the largest combination fire rescue systems in the state. And our current on-duty staffing is greater than the city of Lancaster, who is staffing their stations with normally 11 people on duty. We have 12 on duty 24/7 in Manheim Township. So those opportunities to expand. Manheim Township is running 4 fire stations that are staffed. So for any of you that are local to Manheim Township, as Allyson, I know, is a resident, we have 4 fully staffed 24/7 fire stations, and we deliver not only fire rescue service, but we also do first responder with fire trucks to emergency EMS calls. So sometimes we get those questions of why a fire truck showed up when I'm having chest pains. It's because we are staffed and we're going to be nearby and can get there normally faster than the ambulance. So again, coming to Manheim Township, one of those things that occurred, the city of Lancaster has 2 stations, both on King Street, one on West King and one on East King. So one of the things I resorted to coming to Manheim Township was pretty simple. It's like being a football coach. You go to the playbook and you run the plays that work, right? Now, my wife will always debate about why NFL coaches always run right up the middle on games, but it's one of those things, right, that you go to the playbook and what you know has seemed to work for me. So we're applying it here, right? So again, coming into a new organization, new staff, it's about building trust with the staff through those caring conversations, seeking their input on needs, challenges. But again, just having that candid conversation of caring goes a long way. And it boiled down to 2 simple questions. Do I trust myself? And am I someone others can trust? Right. And that comes from the speed of trust as well. So with regard to having trust in self, it also begins with those little things. And those little things matter as I come to work. My office is at the Nessville station. Each morning, I take the first 5 minutes at least and sit at the kitchen table with the staff and enjoy conversation over coffee, and just to hear how their day is going already and how their family's doing. So that is a start to every day. You know, and to date out here in Manheim Township, we're tackling those tough challenges. No different as any other organization. The workforce, we're transitioning to more full-time firefighters over our part-time firefighters, and also the decline in volunteerism is requiring us to hire 20 new full-time firefighters over the next 3 years. And our volunteer decline here is no different than what we see across the United States, and in particular Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania in 1970s had 300,000 volunteer firefighters. Today we have less than 25,000 across the entire Commonwealth. So we're at critical moments in time in how we're addressing the fire rescue delivery, along with our EMS issues that have arisen. So the days of calling 911 and somebody showing up is not actually the case anymore in some communities. Some communities you're going to dial 911 and somebody might not show up, is where we're at. So it's a big challenge, the workforce piece, but we're addressing it again, unified, myself with staff, with a fully supportive board of commissioners in the township, with our township leadership, and having the education and the sit down conversations of the need. They see that the impact on taxpayers through the general fund and taxes is important to provide the level of service that we are expecting for fire rescue to do. Technology, we continue to adapt on technology through the proper gear that they're wearing, to the thermal imaging camera that they can see through smoke to get the victims faster, to those overall safety initiatives. So we actually outfitted all 4 fire stations with a full complement of gym equipment that they work out at least an hour a day, and also getting them all full NFPA, National Fire Protection Agency standard physicals with blood screening for cancer. So again, a state really a tip of the spear ideas coming out of Manheim Township in the health and safety realm for firefighters. And again, the biggest thing for all of them is trust in the team, right? We can trust each other, allowing staff to take full ownership in programs and enabling them to lead. So over the past 3 years, 3 of our fire captains here have completed Leadership Lancaster, and we will continue to build upon that success locally, because I think it's important as the fire chief that our staff recognize the bigger picture within our communities. And a lot of times in fire rescue, we like to just stay in our comfort zone, right? But I'm getting them out of the comfort zone, out of our silo of training, and getting them to be well-rounded individuals for our community in Manheim Township, but also for Lancaster County as a whole. So again, I think the success of my result, built upon trust, is built off the teams that I've been able to lead as their coach. And I tell you, there's one mistake is all it takes for a turnover. And fortunately, our staff have been so disciplined along this journey for me, that have made it great experiences at every stop I've had in my leadership journey. So I commend all of you for taking the time over this next 12 months in the journey that you're doing. Personally, it's going to improve you. And again, as a leader in your organizations, that much better. So again, thank you and best of luck to all of you in the Lancaster Watershed Leadership Academy.
Thank you so much, Scott. Wonderful to hear about your journey, the steps that you took, some of the lessons along the way, and how you used questions to kind of prime yourself for what you might be getting into, and how open you were to that, because that can be difficult as well. I'm curious to hear from the group. What kind of questions do you have? What more do you want to know?
Hi, Scott. My name's Jackie. Thanks for sharing. I guess that we were both in the core class of 2019, which is wild. I don't remember meeting, but I know it was like 70 of us, so it kind of makes sense. Yeah, I was curious for the volunteerism. What that isn't surprising. I work with volunteers a lot. But I was curious for the fire station, what are some of the bigger causes that you guys have identified to why those numbers have dropped so drastically?
So a couple reasons. One is the amount of training hours it takes to get certified. We also see the families, the dual incomes, not having time with youth sports with your children. We have what used to be the homegrown neighborhood fire companies that were generationally staffed by families. As people moved away, Manheim Township in particular is more of a bedroom community with people that are commuting to work. So they're not ingrained as much in the community in that volunteerism piece. But then we also have the challenge of people are saying, why should I run into a burning building and not get compensated for it? Right. So that's a challenge. And rightfully so, as we say, like right now, and sitting on the state fire advisory board for the governor, we talk about that. And when we talk about the health, your risk to your health, the increase in cancer, who's going to sign up for that? Right. So there's a lot of challenges that we see, but those are mainly the biggest drivers to that.
Thank you so much. That makes a lot of sense. That's a very complicated societal changes, and just like more health data that we have beyond the other safety risks. But yeah, so thank you. And just wanted to say, I think your message, I can imagine kind of you're talking about the family unit dynamic, and then coming in as an outsider to that, like that part of your story really translated of that had to be an uphill climb. So thanks for sharing.
You bet.
Yeah, I was struck by that too, Scott. Thanks for sharing your journey. About how many times that you described yourself coming into a new challenge as an outsider, especially within a culture that, what you said, since 1882, the city had never had an outsider as a chief. Curious if you have any stories or regarding that journey, like how did you specifically build that trust with your unit, with your staff, and were there any hiccups along the way or challenges you had to work through, because of, needing to establish those relationships from the ground up?
Yeah, I think partially part of it is like getting your hands dirty with the crew, right?
Yeah.
Letting them see, yes, you're the outsider, but you have the same intentions as us, right? We want to provide the best level of service we can. So that is a huge positive piece. But then when you get down into some of the things where you have struggles, is kind of, we've always done it that way, right? So there's some historically older, outdated policies that needed changed, and really to get people to think differently about them and not ingrain just institutionally of what their upbringing were or what those experiences were, is a challenge. I'll tell you, one is at a council level is the civil service code, right? Because you're dealing with a state statute from 1968 that is driving some of the things that still occur today in Pennsylvania that we're trying to work on and cannot get legislation passed to change 1968 wording.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So some of them, like civil service, there's caveats in there about years of service on the job for seniority based, but it's not taking into account that we have evolved professionally through education, certification. It doesn't address that. So it's very difficult when people are basing promotional scores off of seniority and not off of seniority plus education and training. Can be a challenge. So that was one of the focuses we did to try and get well-rounded individuals in leadership positions where others then would hold back and not be agreeable to that. So that's some of those challenges you deal with. And again, it's at the end of the day, you have those challenges and you respect them, allow them the opportunity to have their opinion on it, but continue to move forward for the best of the organization and not just the one or two.
Makes sense. Thanks.
Scott, did you have turnover when you came? People who said, I really do want to do it the same old way, or so I'm out of here.
Yeah, I mean, there's always that, but never that I saw any challenges at any of these organizations based on that. The one challenge we see in Manheim Township that we, again, with our Board of Commissioners support, which has helped us, is our challenge is Manheim Township has only had full-time firefighters on board since 2017. So we're a very young organization. And there are some of our early to mid 20-year-olds that work here. Again, the generational shift of the workforce, as people talk about, there's not that loyalty for 20, 30 years of employment anymore, where they're jumping to larger cities to work like Baltimore, Philadelphia, because they can have better opportunity for the things that they want to see at their age, because they're go-getters and they want to go to those high-rise fires and things that we can't provide. So we have been kind of that stepping stone for a number of employees that we're hopeful through the next 3 years with this mass hirings that will slow down a little bit for us here.
So are you saying that people are leaving because they're better qualified and they see better opportunities as opposed to wanting to well, apparently they're leaving for better opportunities. So
Yeah. So when you look at, let's say, Manheim Township versus the city of Philadelphia, we have 4 fire stations. They have 60. They have special operations teams. They got a SWAT team component for fire rescue. They got a Marine division, tech
more
rescue. So they
more
can
attractive
offer
package.
they can offer a ton more specialty services than what we can provide. Anybody else?
I was kind of captivated by one of the things that you said. I'm going to kind of paraphrase. You said it about one of the earlier places that you had worked, about a philosophy of find each person's skill and find their place within the organization. How, looking into Lancaster Watershed Leadership Academy, how do you think we could best utilize that philosophy as a team?
Yeah, so I think that starts with each of your backgrounds, right? And I have not seen your bios yet. I'm sure Allyson will share them. And part of that is looking at that and saying, okay, we have one person on the team who has experience in the public speaking realm, right? They're normally the PIO, right? Public information officer, right? They have that skill set. We're going to pair them with somebody who on their ILC wants to improve on public speaking, right? Pairing them up and saying, all right, this person is doing it every day. And we do that. I just came back from Alabama the first week of January, and I was at a healthcare executive course through FEMA. And it was all about running incident command and the incident command structure for the hospital setting for mass casualty. But a lot of the students with me never experienced incident command roles before, where I'm doing incident command every day. Just like this morning at 8 o'clock, we had a house fire in Manheim Township. I'm running the scene, right? Managing all the resources coming in, all the firefighters' tactics. So that is kind of how you do that. You just find those niches and pair the right people up to each other, and also pairing people up so somebody's learning, right? So somebody's learning and somebody's teaching. So they're both going to expand and develop their leadership roles.
Thank you.
You bet.
I took a note on that comment, Ken, when Scott was talking about that, because because of the challenges of, building watershed partnerships, watershed restoration. There are so many different skill sets and niches that are needed there. So the partnership is very diverse and collaborative, and does take, all different skill sets, from the softer, social skills to the technical. So
Any other final questions? Well, great questions, great insight. Thank you, Scott. Scott, thank you for your service. I had no idea you were in the 193rd. And now I
Yeah.
have more questions that swap stories about my dad.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for joining us tonight. A round of applause for our
Yeah.
anchor.
Yep, Allison
Thank
has
you.
my info, so if
Yeah.
anybody has any additional follow-up questions or you think of something tomorrow, yeah, have Allison reach out and give my contact information to you.
Very good. Scott, you're welcome to stay with us tonight. I'm sure you have other things that are on your agenda, but happy to have you. But really, thanks for joining us on a Thursday evening.
You bet. Thank you. Yeah, I've been
Excellent,
in the
Scott.
office since 7 o'clock, so I'm gonna
All right.
Go
jump
home.
off
Time
and
to
get
head
dinner.
home. Definitely.
Thank you all, and again, best of luck on the journey over the next 12 months.
Thank you much. All right. Well, Allison, do we want to roll into the next component here? Talk a little bit about
Do it.
the BMP tour and presentation assignment, and I
Sounds
can do
good.
that. And then maybe once I present that and share or get your questions answered there, then I'll kick it to you, Allison, to kind of give an overview of what we got planned for our next in-person session on the 22nd. So
You got it.
great. So yeah, so you will find in the Google Drive here under assignments, you'll find this written assignment. I did a little bit of revising to this since some of you may have last seen it. Just worked on that late this afternoon. Some of the links were dead, and I livened those up and made a couple other edits to make it fresh for this year. But essentially, what you'll be doing is visiting fairly recently implemented clean water project, a project that's been funded by this Lancaster Clean Water Fund. And there is a kind of a background tie-in to what's required under the Clean Water Act to restore the Chesapeake Bay, to do that very local in individual counties in Pennsylvania and here in Lancaster County, and then providing funding resources through this Clean Water Fund that is managed by the Clean Water Partners and is through the Community Foundation of Lancaster County to provide funds to implement clean water projects on the ground. So there is a list that you will find, and Allison had toggled there to the website. And then we have a spreadsheet here, a Google sheet that will have a variety of different projects, just a brief, project name and project sponsor. You might be able to get a little more information on the Clean Water Partners website about each of these projects. So really the idea is to team up, buddy up with someone in the class, or you could also invite someone else who's not a scholar to join you. But you really need to do this in with a buddy, or maybe teams of 3 as well. If 3 of you want to work together, that's fine. I know we have an odd number of scholars in the class. We don't want to get too many people out there, because the idea is also to develop a presentation and present it at our next virtual session in March. So this is something you have to jump on here in the next month and start working on this. So what we want you to do is once you have your team and you've selected a site, you want to pull the partner's contact information from that Google sheet, or talk to Allison and I about it. I will warn you, maybe Allison, you've taken a fresh look at this. There was the borough manager at Manheim, Jim Fisher, has retired. I put the new borough manager name and contact in there. So there may be some of that. I'm not 100% sure of some of these projects, but I think we're pretty comfortable that we've got the right people to reach out to. I would say it's real important to reach out to the partner contact to help organize the site visit, as opposed to, hey, I figured out where this location is. I'm just going to show up and check this out. Some of these projects are on private property. And so you're going to want to work through the partner contact to ensure that, you have access to the property, the landowner's fine with that. The landowner's either lined up to meet you there or has no problem with you checking out the site with the partner. So that's the first thing you want to do is line all that up and then visit your site, and you'll see in the it's a pretty lengthy assignment description what you're really looking for on your visit. So you're looking to see what what does the surrounding landscape look like? Are you seeing evidence of the types of impacts that landscape systems, whether they be developed or agricultural, are having on water quality, and how is this project going to address some of those issues? Back into the next bullet, how has the project been implemented in a way that's going to address these issues? And then maybe think about, okay, the project is built, I'm looking at it. What are some of the maintenance challenges or needs over time that may exist from this project? Maybe you're seeing signs of maintenance needs already on the project that maybe need to address. And thinking about how the site might engage or educate others, if there's opportunities to have it serve as a demonstration site, for example, or other visits like the one you're doing to spur others to action. So these are kind of questions you should be thinking about as you explore the site. We'd encourage you to take some pictures. Ultimately, what you're going to be doing is developing a very short PowerPoint or other kind of slide deck presentation that you would then present and will present at the virtual session on May 5th. And we have a highlight here in terms of what we're looking for. We're only looking for an up to 5-minute presentation on your site. So this is developing a skill set of being to the point, presenting something impactful in a very little time. But all scholars should really have a role in being part of that presentation. There are a couple of things that we want you to address, and some examples about how to use, say, for example, the Lancaster Clean Water Partners Collaborative Watershed Mapping Tool to figure out whether this project is in a high priority area or not. And so, yeah, Allison's toggling to the link there, and you'll see, and you'll be able to jump on this site and play around on it. We have some specific instructions on how to get to the priority catchments, which are very, very tiny watersheds. The whole county of Lancaster is divided up into over 1,000 of these, and they are ranked from 1 to 1,035 or whatever it is. So part of the assignment will be to find your site by way of typing in an address in the map, and then toggling to the priority catchments. And again, it's written in the assignment on how to get there and how to use that layer. And then clicking on that catchment, the small watershed in which your project is in, to see where it ranks. So we want you to be able to just navigate this kind of information on relevant maps. These are some of the not super technical skills, but important skills that allow watershed restoration partners and leaders to figure out how do I prioritize an effort in a watershed. So Allison's kind of just going through some demos on how to do that. And again, it's written into the assignment to better understand that. So read over the assignment and allow kind of the guidance of this to put together your presentation, focusing on the areas that we ask you to focus on. And then you'll be presenting this again virtually. Everyone will present at the March session, virtual session, which is March 6th. The last section of this assignment provides relevant background that kind of sets the context for what these projects are all about, why Lancaster is funding multiple projects a year. And at this point, I think, Allison, over 30 projects or close to 30 projects in the last couple of years through the Clean Water Fund. And what that's all about and how it ties to what we studied briefly in session 1, requirements of the Clean Water Act and the need to clean up impaired water bodies. The Chesapeake Bay being one of those impaired water bodies, and Lancaster County streams contributing to that end of the line in terms of your largest water body in your kind of watershed address here in Lancaster County. So any questions about that? I know that was kind of a brief overview, but I did want to spend some time presenting that. And if you have questions along the way, you can reach out to Allison and I. I think we have Lori and Sarah already teaming up to visit a site, which is great. Yeah, the rest of you get in touch with each other and kind of figure out your game plan. Again, if you can't find a partner that's willing to take a look at one of the sites that you're interested in, and we understand that you may select a site that's close to where you live, that kind of thing, then you can bring a partner, could be a family member or a colleague, a friend along on the site visit as well.
Thank
So,
you, Alex,
Adding to the
adding
list
to
here
this.
too.
yeah,
Alex has
can
been
I,
updating it.
yeah, can I ask that add more projects here based on your selection so we can go and pick a project and add it in here?
Yeah, if you know
Right.
of one, oh wait, I'm on the wrong tab. There's a whole bunch of projects on here that were funded by the Clean Water Fund. If you know of one that your township did, or if you are part of a watershed association that did a project and you want to put it on here, that's fine. We just want to make sure that there's a diverse enough collection of projects here that if you live in a really urban area and you've never been to a farm, this is the reason you should go. Like pick one, pair up with somebody that you can go visit one.
I just wanted to also add, I mean, I'm the project coordinator at the Clean Water Partners. So one of the first things I did a year ago when I started here was look at this list and kind of do something similar to this. So I'll add some of these because I know on this spreadsheet, I think on the website, there's probably some more projects that maybe don't have a contact name or a lead yet. So if they don't, you can certainly reach out to me too. I put all these projects in a big spreadsheet that has all kinds of information, but to keep it simple, I can plug some more in here. But if there is one, I'll keep adding here ones that I've dug up and gotten current contact information for. But certainly if there is one on the website you see that isn't listed here, or you don't know how to get a hold of the lead, if I don't get it in there, you can definitely reach out and I have that information available.
And
That's
these
great. We got an
complete,
ace in the hole here with Alex on the
and these are to be completed project.
Yeah, you really look at it,
Right.
look at a completed project. It could be a project's in progress, potentially. So yeah, that's what we're looking for you to actually observe a best management practice or a conservation project, in the ground.
There's also, I will say, a lot of these you can like Google and
Yeah.
stuff's gonna, just so people know, you can Google it and get a lot of information on a lot of these. But again, I also went through this process and did dig up like if there were fact sheets made that weren't available, that are helpful, at least just to give you some, if you want to know. I mean, I think a lot of the whole idea of this assignment is us to find that information, but it is a good starting point if you want to know how much it costs and, you know, some of the other details about it. So just let me know if that would help.
And Matt, I heard you say May 7th or something first, then you said March.
Oh,
It's due-
I'm sorry if I
March,
said
right.
May.
If anybody
It's
else heard
March, yeah.
May, yeah.
That was my fault. No, this will be due in March, so a
Got
month from now. Yeah.
Okay, just making sure.
And that's all we're doing at that virtual session. It's just the
No
presentations.
guest
for you guys.
speakers. Yeah.
Like I said, you're going to be our teachers for a couple of these classes.
Any other questions about that assignment?
Just in terms of the corrections that are happening, we should always consult what's on this Google site as opposed to what we got handed to us, because there could be changes to whatever
That's right.
papers we got at the first session, right? So always
Yeah.
check
Yeah,
the,
like the syllabus has already been updated, so it'll be updated on the Google Drive. Yeah.
Brooke, I think the only changes to this document, like the homework assignment, were probably links. I don't think
I
that
did some editing as well, Allison, of the text, but
Okay.
it's largely the same. It's certainly largely the same assignment.
Okay.
okay.
So will we be invited to share this drive, or how do we get at it?
The link is in the chat, and I'm going to put it in there again just so that everybody has it.
We'll also email that out to everyone if
Yep.
folks, yeah, we'll get it to you a couple ways, so you definitely have it, can bookmark it.
I will just recommend again, Matt, you said it, make sure you practice timing yourself. It's
Yes.
really hard to do 5 minutes.
And if I can mention, please be creative and interesting. I'm sorry, maybe that's what my leadership skill is that I have to work on, I don't know. And maybe it's because I'm a teacher and the kids say it to me all the time. But, you know, more than droning on or something, or having slides with statistics on it and stuff, pictures are good.
Yeah,
But-
definitely have your phone out there and take pictures of what
Yeah.
you're doing. Yeah.
Like an hour of 6 different presentations or something is going to be a snore fest unless people try to make it interesting.
Jenny, it sounds like you need that paragraph in your leadership contract. I'm going to make my presentations interesting. Use pictures.
Yeah. That's me all over.
All right. Anything else? Okay.
I have a question, and it's actually about the funding of this program. I went to a trade show today, and many of my partners in the agricultural world there were so many organizations there, so many based in USDA. So I would like to know if there is a danger for this program, or if there is, what kind of impact might happen.
That's a very good question. And Sarah, I'll be completely transparent with you that the major source of funding, there's 2 major sources of funding for this program. One is a private family foundation, which is not an issue. And the other one is a National Fish and Wildlife Foundation grant, which is currently paused.
Okay. All right.
I have full confidence that things will turn around on that one. I have not heard directly from the funder, but I want you guys to feel comfortable that we have some flexibility with other funding sources. And we're going to do our very best to ensure that all of that aligns with the timeline that we have for this grant. But
Yeah. And I don't plan to stop showing up any step along the way.
yeah,
It's a big program. What you're setting out, it's a big program. And I know I started with Lori last week saying, all right, we better get on this. They gave us 2 months to do it. This must be a big deal. So I think you have set a pretty high bar for the presentations on your own personal merits. And so, yeah, guys, you can't let them down.
I'm sure everyone is going to come through. For sure.
exactly.
Can't
Yep.
wait to see them.
And you've got a whole month for that. So let's look at what we get to do when we see each other very soon.
Yes.
I'm going to give you a sneak peek at the February agenda, which is literally hot off the press as we finalize some logistics for that. So we're going to be looking at February 22nd. It's a Saturday in just a few weeks. We're going to meet at Creek Lodge, which is part of Millersville University. Thank you, Matt, for setting that up. I couldn't find a driving address, like what to enter into Google, so we'll work on adding that here. But
Yeah.
Creek Lodge is a really cute little place that's kind of tucked away, and that'll be our home base for the day. We'll be there all day, right, Matt? Except for the
Yes.
driving tour and stuff. But
Yes.
okay,
yes.
great. So we'll meet there for our check-in in the morning, and then to carpool from there. Make sure you have the answer for your drinking water, like where your drinking water comes from and where your wastewater goes. Drinking water. See, I'm going to fix it as we go. And wastewater. Where does your wastewater go? Because that's where we're going first, is to the wastewater treatment plant tour with LASA, which is the Lancaster Area Sewer Authority. And that's a switch from last year. So instead of going to a drinking water facility, we're going to a wastewater facility. So eager to see both sides of this. And actually one of our alumni he's a LASA employee. So I need to make sure that Andrew can join us that day. We'll be there for about 2 hours, but we'll be doing a driving tour of the Watershed, which is what we had hoped to do in our January session, weren't able to in the Chickie. So Matt and your team, you want to give a snapshot of what the driving tour is?
Yeah. So our hope is I'm going to get a 15-passenger van from the Penn State Harrisburg fleet, and then we could certainly have, I think, one other car that Allyson, or even, well, it'd be best not to have Scholar drive, so you can look out the window and learn as we go. But the thought is to maybe get down to the wastewater treatment plant in 2 vehicles. And then on the way back, we're going to kind of drive through a small watershed, or it might be parts of a couple different small watersheds. There are very small little streams that drain into the Susquehanna River, close to where the wastewater treatment plant is, in the Washington Borough area. But then there's a couple other small tributaries as we drive back to Millersville that flow into the little Conestoga Creek. We're really kind of learning, and it's a great time of year to do this. With the snow cover, it wasn't, but now hopefully we won't have another a session where everything's white. But without any of the spring vegetation growing, you can kind of really see the terrain and think about landscape as it relates to where do streams start and are they impacted from the start, or maybe it goes through a forested area into an agricultural area or an urban area. And so we're just kind of like reading that watershed and thinking a little bit about how we had just spent 2 hours touring a plant that has technology and treatment elements to treat wastewater into cleaner discharge water. And then on the drive back, the thought of how does the watershed itself and the land that drains into our streams, how does that serve as the treatment system for non-point source pollution or runoff? So that is kind of what we'll do in our, I guess, a little bit of a snaky drive back to Creek Lodge. Get back there for lunch, and then we will have an afternoon speaker, which is Jennifer Fetter, who's a very outstanding Penn State Extension educator. She's now directing this major center at Penn State Extension, training agricultural conservation professionals throughout the Commonwealth. But her real love and interest is water resources education, and she'll do a really great presentation on how to protect our drinking water sources, particularly for those that have well water and are relying on that for drinking water, the strong importance of protecting that source water. So that'll be our after lunch speaker.
Jenny,
And then-
she's super fun and engaging.
Oh yeah, she's
You'll
awesome.
like that one.
She's terrific. I was glad we could line her up. You want to talk a little bit about our leadership development
Sure.
assignment, Allison?
Yeah, so we're gonna make you guys stretch a little bit in the afternoon with the impromptu speeches. So here's the, let's do the assignment first. Here's the assignment, the impromptu speech. You're literally going to pick, or you're going to be handed a topic that you have to give an impromptu speech. No prep, no script to read. It's not going to be something completely off the wall. Don't feel freaked out that if you have no idea how to play baseball, you'll get an assignment to talk about baseball and statistics or something. It's not like that. We're not trying to stump you. We're just trying to challenge you to be a better speaker, to use the content that you do have as an expert to be able to communicate that well. The other part of this that is especially powerful, so that's one thing, is just to be able to do an impromptu speech. To receive feedback from your peers is pretty powerful and pretty important. So every person will evaluate every person. So you'll receive an evaluation rubric and be able to give feedback. We will also give you what we call the feedback sandwich. It's really important to know how to give feedback. So it's not like you're just, don't feel intimidated that you're just going to receive this pile of criticism. It's not that. It is a skill to also give feedback as well as to receive it. So this is part of the leadership training that will be included in February in the afternoon. We'll be wrapping up and out of there by 4 o'clock.
This agenda, Allison, is not yet on the Google Drive, correct?
That's correct. Like
Yeah,
I said, it's
still-
hot off the press. I
Still
don't
in
even have an
draft.
address.
We just I just talked to the event coordinator at Millersville today, so we need to get a few more details ironed out, but yeah, we'll get it up there pretty soon, I would suspect.
We'll always put those pre-readings and assignments for the day as a reminder there, and then you'll get a separate set of assignments for the next one. But the big one is that presentation for the March session. So
I put together a February homework assignment document. Also has pretty much all that stuff on there, so you can reference that as well.
fantastic.
I forgot to send Allison your bio and headshot piece. I'll add that to it as well.
Send Allison or upload to the Google folder. You guys can do it directly. Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you again for those of you who filled out the evaluation for session 1. You'll get one for session 2. There will not be an evaluation for our virtual ones. This is just a separate time to be together in this format. So we appreciate your flexibility. We are going to do our best to use our virtual time for the type of content that fits here and use our time that we have in person for the best kind of content that fits in those situations. Keep an eye on your email as we get closer to the 22nd about weather or any changes related to that. But lunch will be provided again. We'll have snacks and drinks. Any other logistical questions? Okay. Very good.
All right.
All right.
Well, thanks all. This is really helpful to be able to see you, be able to touch base, be able to hear what's new in your world, what questions you're having, but also I'm feeling the energy, I'm feeling the excitement. Even though it's 8:30, 8:25, we're early,
Yeah.
8:25 on a Thursday night.
Thank you very much.
All right, everyone.
Yeah,
right.
Thank
See
you.
you on the
Thanks.
25th.
Good night.
Thanks, Allison.
Night, everybody.
Take care.